Welcome to another episode of the Operating System Show. My name is Matt Dixon, and I spend my days building systems that let founders run their business on their own without all the bottlenecks. And on the show, we dig into operations and all the gritty business stuff that works and some of it doesn't, and how we streamline things. Today, my guest is David Hori, and he's the founder of Top Line Operators. And David, why don't you tell me a little bit about why you started that business?
I started the business because I was really good at helping founders grow their businesses and grow their businesses so successfully that they were bought by much larger businesses. Think people like Toyota, Qualtrics, and Opendoor. The problem I had was that I wasn't the owner investor. So while I had an equity stake in each of those companies, it wasn't life-changing for me. And I thought, how do I put myself into the seat of the owner investor most efficiently? And so after Toyota bought the last company I was a part of, I decided to start Top Line Operators. And my North Star is I'm in the business of buying businesses that already exist and are working reasonably well, and applying what I know to grow them even more. And then along the way, I've fallen into working with some of the best business owners that I'm connected with who aren't necessarily looking to sell, but are still looking to grow.
Okay, that's interesting. And then how do you find out? Like, you don't want to buy a business that's like doing way too well, right? Because then where's the ceiling? Did they already hit the ceiling, or what criteria do you use for what businesses to buy?
Sure. I've yet to find a business that has hit the ceiling, including
Okay.
Amazon or Microsoft or any of those companies. But the criteria that I use personally is that they have to be successful. I'm not in the business of turnarounds. There are many of those. And in fact, many people try to sell a business in order to get the cash that's required to keep running it sometimes. So you must be a successful business in terms of profit. Generally, I'm looking for businesses that have at least 8 employees. I'm also looking for some of the more tenured businesses, because businesses that have weathered multiple economic downturns and tariffs, COVID, those kinds of things, that's a great signal that the business is going to continue to persist after I buy it. So those are a couple of the criteria that I look at. And then certainly there's things that you're probably more familiar with, like to the degree that the business doesn't rely on the owner, is another criteria that drastically changes whether or not that's going to be a business that's attractive for me to buy.
Okay. That's a great list of criteria. And then once you get in there, what do you do? How do you work? What's your process that you follow?
Well, I think we have a similar process in that I'm looking to understand the current state of things. I'm looking at where are the bottlenecks and how do we systematically resolve those. Something I'd layer into that, though, is also what are we uniquely positioned to deliver on, and how do we double down on that? What are we good at? Double down on it. Who is our best customer? How do we get 10 more of them? Those are kind of some of the fundamental things that I'm looking to apply in order to help any business that I'm associated with.
Yeah. And we met actually through Dan Martell's elite coaching program. And one thing he says in there all the time is you're always going to stay small if you keep things complicated. So how do you uncomplicate things for those types of businesses that you buy?
Yeah, well, I'm actually working with a business owner right now. I'm not an owner in it yet. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens with that. But, he's running 5 different businesses under the umbrella of one. And he's got a flagship company, right, that kind of carries the rest. And there's a bunch of commingling of process, people, money, those kinds of things. And so I'm right in the middle of delving into what is the current state, what should live where, how do we unravel these things? And it's not just, the QuickBooks and the finances. It's like, even how calls are routed and what kind of people are being used in different capacities across the portfolio of businesses. And again, creating simplicity. What's no longer serving us? There probably was a reason why it grew into this big ball of yarn, but it's no longer serving us. And now is the time to bring simplicity and clarity to bear in order to scale it. We can't scale it until we unravel that.
Yes. Well, and then do you find that in this situation, do you predict that you're going to close one or more of those businesses?
You know, because I'm not an owner in this business, I can't say. That is one of the things that I asked him even before I was officially on board, though, as part of the intake. Is that an outcome that you're open to? Because that is going to be the most direct path to you winning. You know, it is difficult for anybody to scale multiple businesses. Um, it's impossible for most, I would say. Difficult for the few that could do it, and the most direct path would be to look at, what are the loss leaders, remove, simplify, and then focus and pour all of our energy, all of our strategy in one business going forward. I don't know that he's going to be open to that, but to be determined.
Yeah, we'll see. That's always the adventure, though, too. If we knew everything before we started, we wouldn't start it.
Exactly. And I actually took this on because it was such a big, hairy mess. It's unique in that I get to work with one owner across five businesses at once. And so, like, rather than finding five different owner clients, right? And reporting, figuring out each of their businesses and reporting how they want to be reported to, I get a 5-for-1, but there's also, the inherent complexity as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, with most of your operations, is it mainly in the businesses that you have bought, or do you also have operations in your top line operators that you've streamlined?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a case of building the airplane while it's flying. So I'm bringing on clients, I'm going through buying businesses and hiring my first employee, right? In the same moment, and then training them. And then, like, okay, what are the things that are my current constraint? How do I resolve those systematically, whether it's automation or my admin? Okay, now the bottleneck is I've got enough leads for businesses that I want to buy, but I'm getting bogged down in the financial analysis of these and whether or not they're viable potential acquisitions. So then I go and hire a financial analyst. And so it's just like, again, the bottleneck continually moves. But yes, there's absolutely an element of that that's very applicable internally as well.
Yeah, well, and you don't want to turn yourself into that guy that has a bunch of businesses. Like, you want to also maintain your clear focus on what's most important to you at any given moment as well. So, do I
I
have that
mean,
right?
so, well, my vision is to own a portfolio of businesses. I love growing and building businesses. And again, there's no
Hmm.
destination. There's no arrival where you've reached the ceiling or the zenith and now you just maintain. You're either growing or you're falling apart or dying. And, you mentioned Dan Martell earlier. Again, his advice is to own one business, run it. But what does he actually do? He has empowered other people to run those businesses, and he's involved in some degree across all of his portfolio, but he also owns multiple businesses. And
Hmm.
that's what I aspire to do, which is one of the reasons why I've made the investment to make him a mentor specifically.
Yeah. Well, I think I mixed up ownership and operator, because you
Exactly.
can't operate all of them, but you can own them. So
Yeah.
how do you keep that line straight?
Uh, I mean, when I solve it, I'll tell you,
All right.
and it'll be a $1 million secret. No. Um, But like Dan, the goal, if he went and bought a restaurant today, he could buy that restaurant and he's not going to be the one that's owning it. And so I am not at the level he is at. And so there's going to be a moment where I'm going to be the operator, necessarily. If for no other reason, then I need to understand what are the outcomes that I'm going to be hiring a GM, a COO, whatever that executive is, to run the business going forward. What do they need to be able to do and deliver? But that's not the end goal, and that's not where I'm going to stay. And I think that's one of my strengths. And again, that was born out through scaling 3 VC funded startups, is like able to leverage money, and other resources in order to scale very quickly. I wasn't the one that was, dragging everything forward or pushing it.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. And then I know AI is a hot topic. I'm a tech guy, so I've been living in AI for a while now. How do you use AI in the top line operators as well as the businesses you buy? What do you have any strategies that you can share with everyone?
Well, one caveat, and this is kind of a timely, piece that I'll drop. AI is being touted in many circles as kind of the magic pill that fixes your business. And I see AI as an amplifier, a magnifier. And so again, if you're bringing in AI, like an AI chatbot, for instance, to fix your sales, but you haven't done the work to figure out what sells, how to handle objections, all those things. Unfortunately, the AI, the chatbot, that's not going to drastically improve your sales. In fact, it's probably going to just add a layer of complexity. So you have to solve things manually, the workflows, the fundamental components of each process that you eventually want to leverage AI in. Now, how am I using AI? I'm using it to distill and track a large volume of data. So one of the more helpful applications of it is there's a lot of documents and company records and things like that involved in evaluating a business for an acquisition. And when you're, evaluating multiple businesses, keeping all of those things straight, the year-to-date financials, the employee list, things tied to real estate ownership and all of that, keeping it in a single place that can be easily queried is really powerful. And so before I had to be really organized with, a Google Drive. Now I can dump it all into an AI project and query it and say, do we have this yet? What was the last touch point here? Remind me, like what the general financial trends are along these lines. So that's really powerful for running due diligence and those kinds of things, kind of like a smarter data room. But I use it in every aspect of my business, whether it's social media, creating summaries, coming up with an agenda for my clients, like all of those things are being fed and refined through AI.
Yeah, excellent. I love how you said it was an amplifier. I've been saying that for a while now. So if you have a mess, you'll get a bigger mess. If you have a good process, you'll streamline that process. You can put more things through the process.
Yeah, I have an owner that wants to post more on social media. He's already identified that carousels are the best way for him to do that. And he's trying to design something with AI that is fully automated. The challenge is he hasn't figured out how to create carousels and like which ones are going to resonate, the messaging, like any of those fundamentals. And, he's just a part of a group that I'm in, but it's been week after week after week where he hasn't posted a single carousel because he's trying to perfect it in AI and remove like all involvement from it. And I think he would probably already be generating something 10x more valuable if he had just started generating a carousel manually and then looking for a piece of it to automate and then enhance it with AI.
Yeah, that is a part where I have automated things. So I have, once I drop a video into a folder, it's numbered. And so my AI knows what the script is and it'll generate a caption and it'll upload it to all the platforms and we're done. But I had to do that first manually before I could automate it, because how would I know what to automate unless I did it first, right? But yeah, I'm an automation guy. So that's my love language. That's my go-to. So I get it. Totally get it. So what do you do with the operator that is the business? How do you help them with their systems?
Great question. So I actually developed what I called the durability diagnostic because I was talking to so many owner operators that were the bottleneck, and many of them started as potential sellers, right? We're having a conversation where I'm considering buying their business. And the sad part was like, I had to tell them like, gosh, as is, your business isn't worth that much. In fact, you're trying to sell me a job, not a business. And there's a big difference. You might make hundreds of thousands of dollars every year with your job, but I can't go and buy it and create the same results consistently. And that's because you are the bottleneck. You are the business. And so creating this durability diagnostic brings my buyer lens to bear on a business with an owner that's maybe not necessarily looking to sell. And they're we're evaluating things across 4 different pillars in the business, right? So the degree that the business relies on the owner, the general financial trends, the concentration risks associated with your business, and then the general degree that your systems and processes are documented for yourself and your team. Those are the 4 pillars of the durability diagnostic, and those are the things that when I sit down with for 45 minutes with an owner, they get an artifact coming out of that shows them a roadmap of the things that are going to create resiliency in their business and strengthen it, remove dependencies on them, and it's stack ranked in order of this is going to be potentially something that deadly to your business, and these are things to keep an eye out on, so you have an idea of what to focus on first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. Yeah. And then where does tribal knowledge fit in there? Like, Bob from accounting that knows everything that isn't documented anywhere.
Exactly. It fits into that 4th pillar of the degree that your systems and processes are documented. Sometimes it's the owner. So again, that's why one whole pillar is just the owner dependency.
Yeah.
And then again, a lot of people have hired a team around them, but maybe they hired like the perfect unicorn GM, right? And only their GM can run their processes because it's all in their heads. It fits into them. And like hiring a replacement for that individual would be nearly impossible. That's a risk that I'm evaluating again as a business buyer, but it also drives, are you investable, bankable? What kind of optionality do you have to step away from the business at some point? So that is a huge consideration.
And then let's say you have that challenge. I won't call it a problem because there really aren't any problems. It's just a challenge. It's in someone's head, whether it's the owner or someone else. How do you extract that without ruffling feathers? Maybe you don't care, but sometimes they'll hold on to it thinking that's their job security, and that's their whole life. That's sometimes how it comes across.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of who I work with is filtering out the people that are going to be able to get the best results the fastest. And that's not every business owner. I don't work with every business owner. One of my requirements is that you have to be able to take action. You don't have to do everything I say, but you have to take action on what we agree upon. And I let them know you're going to have to lose sight of nearly everything that you've come to know and become very comfortable in order to get to where you want to go. So I'm very clear up front. And there's business owners that can and can't do that. But I had such a beautiful conversation through one of these durability diagnostics because it unearthed this fear in this owner that hiring people that were smarter than them might mean that they're not needed anymore. And so they kept hiring these like people that, well, the takeaway is that we were able to name it and face it and then work through that together in order to get them into the next level. And that's, I think, a really powerful realization and this individual rose to the occasion, but not every business owner does.
Ah, nice. Well, and you say hiring someone that's smarter than you. Well, isn't that the point? That's the whole point. I don't need another me. I need what you have to offer.
True. And I'll tell you, if I can be vulnerable, that is one of the hardest things that I've done, actually. It's widely accepted. Everybody's going to nod their head and be like, well, of course, hire people that are smarter than you. But when I was faced with hiring somebody that was smarter than me, where I was like, there's no reason why I don't even know why they would work for me, first off. But second of all, like everybody else is going to look around and be like, why do we need David when we just hired this person? It's a real fear that I literally was like, maybe I should sabotage this. Like maybe I don't give her an offer, right? Because I'm not going to be needed anymore. And it's a real, it gets to a deep layer of insecurity that I think lurks somewhere in each of us.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and when I was younger, I loved being the smartest person in the room. And then that just causes problems. And now I love looking at all these young software developers coming up from graduating school and just have a few years experience. They grew up with the internet, and there are a lot of them are really sharp. And I really like interacting with them because they have a different perspective than I do. I'm an old dinosaur compared to them. But
we are old dinosaurs.
I love it. But one of the things I've been working on is a business operating system. So I help businesses, like you said, streamline their operations. That's what made me launch this whole podcast. What benefit do you think that would have in an organization if they could have their own business operating system?
Tremendous. And there's, a number of companies out there that, you know, they generally niche down to a specific industry or otherwise. But yeah, those businesses are tremendously valuable if they can show up with a playbook or an operating system that can be deployed and run consistently, and not run by a purple squirrel person that you have to go and hire because there's only three of them, but like an average person. Like the better that it runs with average people and runs consistently, the better. I mean, just again, look at McDonald's. They have an operating system. Chick-fil-A, they have an operating system. So tremendously valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's my pleasure too, right? They have that, which is part of the charm, right? The Southern charm that everyone likes.
Indeed.
Yeah. Before the recording, you said you had a gift for everyone. Tell me about that.
So, the durability diagnostic is undergoing an evolution, and I've added some new things to it. And as such, I am looking for some beta people to run through it. Now, again, it's not for everybody, but if you are profitable and have 8 or more employees, generally that means you're probably doing a couple million in revenue. I am opening it up to the first 10 business owners for free. Normally I charge $2,000 to run the durability diagnostic. It is free to anybody that is curious about, like, where are the cracks in my foundation? If I want to grow this to the moon, what's going to start causing problems underneath as I build, and where are my blind spots? And so if that's helpful to anybody that's listening, again, free for the first 10 betas that sign up, because I'm adding some new functionality to it, some new insights, and I want to be able to get your candid feedback on it.
That's amazing. And how could they access that if that's something they want to do?
Yeah, so I'm easy to find. I'm most active on Instagram, so you can see if you're watching this at the David Hori, but you could also reach out to the team here at Topline Operators, and that's just info@toplineops.com.
Excellent. What else should I know, or what did we not cover? Is there anything you'd like to go over with us?
Well, I mean, there's a whole host of topics that I think you and I could discuss at length, given that, I think repeatable operations is at the core of what both you and I are looking to deliver. One thing, though, that we didn't talk about a ton that might be worth highlighting in case it's helpful to anybody, on the business acquisition front, I've encountered so many business owners that don't know what's involved in selling their business. And they don't even know if selling their business is the right outcome for them. And you and I think, probably ended up in Dan Martell's circle because we both love to create value for people. And I recognized that there was enough business owners out there that had the same questions every single week that I was talking to, that I created a weekly webinar for them. And so if that's useful to anybody, I'm happy to share that for you in the show notes. But it's literally just the selling your business 101 for anybody that's exit curious. And it involves, like, who am I talking to? What kind of questions are they going to ask? How do I know how much my business is worth? Mm-hmm. And I've found that is tremendously valuable to a number of business owners, again, who have no idea if they're going to sell or not, but just want to know what's involved. So I'll highlight that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then one thing that I would probably wonder is my business ready to sell? Is that something you cover as well?
We do talk about some of the things that drive value in a business. And again, those all are unearthed in the durability diagnostic, but I don't address that head on with each business owner. Although at the end of every session, there is a live Q&A. So if you have a specific question about your business, and those are some of the things that do come up, is like, oh gosh, I don't have a key GM that I've hired, or those kinds of things. Can I still sell? And I will answer, I'll give them a specific answer to their use case.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think a lot of business owners just don't know what they don't know. So when it comes to selling, like, I've never sold my business, so how would I know what I'm going into? It's like being a parent for the first time. I don't I don't know. We'll just make it up
Yeah.
as we go along.
But worse, being a parent, there's so many people that are readily found on Instagram and YouTube and things like that
Yeah.
that'll give you parenting hacks and learn from me as somebody that has 13 kids, or whatever it is. There are not that many resources for that small business owner that's curious about selling, that's also not trying to sell them something or position themselves to make money off of it.
Yeah. Awesome. So what do you like doing when you're not buying and selling businesses? What drives you outside of business?
Well, first and foremost, I'm on this earth to be a artisan of hope, and so I spend a lot of time volunteering with my church, and I'm on the security team. We serve on the greeting team, like a lot of different things. Under that is my family, so my wife and daughter. We go and create memories and experiences. A lot of camping, outdoor activities, anything where there's water, and beyond that, it's a lot of looking at business. I'm fascinated by business, and so I can't stay out of it. All my friends' businesses, they call me for advice, for help, for hot takes, and yeah, I think those are my three pillars.
Awesome. Love it. So if people want to find you, once again, where's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
All my best stuff is on Instagram, so you can find me at the David Hori. That's Hori. And again, my website is toplineops.com.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking time out of your day. And that's another episode of the Operating System Show in the bag. Thanks again, David.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you bet.